Welcome to the Miami Sports Vibes YouTube channel where the Dolphins have picked up the W over the San Francisco 49ers 29-17. I predicted a loss, but I said, listen, this wouldn't surprise me if the Dolphins go ahead and win this game and kind of tease us to potentially making the playoffs, and that's exactly what they did. So now the Dolphins, with this big win, they obviously needed it to stay alive. They do what they had to do. Listen, at this point, you got to do you got to control what you can control. And that's what the Dolphins did today. So they definitely do get the credit there. Obviously, you can't control everything, right? You don't control your own destiny where if you win out, you're in the playoffs. No, you need a little bit of help. And the help is, the Dolphins have to win their final 3 games heading into this one. And Denver has to lose, 2 of their last 2 games, right? And you look at Denver's schedule. They got the Bengals, who looked absolutely awesome. Yet again, Joe Burrow continues to just go on an absolute tear. So Denver's got to play Cincinnati. And Cincinnati's been doing very good. So I think Cincinnati's going to win that game against Denver here. And then Denver also has to play the Kansas City Chiefs in the final week. Kansas City's way better than the Denver Broncos, right? So the Broncos are probably not the favorite heading into both of those 2 games, even though the Broncos have a better record than the Bengals. The Bengals look freaking good. And Joe Burrow is on an absolute tear, and they're on a mission as well. So they have something to play for. The Dolphins had to win this game. And you look at it now, right? You might think to yourself, oh, but Kansas City's going to lock up that 1 seed. It doesn't matter. I mean, with Buffalo, beating New England, and they're up 24-21 with 54 seconds left. That game is, probably over right about now. Buffalo should just drain the clock, take a couple knees, and that's it. If Buffalo loses to New England, then KC probably locks up that 1 seed. It doesn't matter. But Buffalo now has easy games the rest of the way. And Buffalo wants to get that 1 seed, to play Kansas City in Buffalo in the playoffs. That matters a whole bunch, because if you think about it, the best teams in the AFC, obviously you look at KC, you look at Buffalo, you look at Baltimore. KC wants that home field. So that last game, I think KC is going to play for it. And if they don't, I mean, Andy Reid is the type of guy that plays his players during preseason. He'll play his guys a half. So I'm looking at Denver as that team. Because the other scenario is if the Chargers lose both of their 2 games, but the Chargers got the Patriots and the Raiders, both teams that are trying to get a higher draft pick. I just don't see the Chargers losing both of those football games there. So I'm looking at Denver heading into this matchup as our only slight possibility. But the Dolphins have to control what they can control, and that is winning the game that's in front of them. And the Dolphins absolutely did that, man. I mean, a stressful game like it's been all year. Another instance where the Dolphins are getting close and getting in the red zone and getting in their side of the field, but not able to deliver as many touchdowns as I would like. I mean, we saw a ton of field goals from Jason Sanders, who surprisingly has been on the money all year. So, hats off to Jason Sanders. He definitely gets a game ball. But the Dolphins offense, man, this play calling just continues to worry me a little bit, man. I'm not pleased with the performance from Tua today. I'm not pleased from the play calling from Mike McDaniel today. I am pleased by the defense. I thought they absolutely showed up, which they have showed up all year, which is great to see by them. Devon Achane continues to just step up in the right direction, man. He's got a bright future. You absolutely love to see him. He gets a game ball. Calais Campbell. I mean, how many weeks have we been saying this? Calais Campbell. What another game ball. I mean, absolutely everywhere tonight. And, that dagger interception from Kader Kohu, that doesn't happen without, Calais Campbell getting that pressure in there. So huge shout out to Calais Campbell being able to provide that pressure in there, along with Chop Robinson, who also has been on a tear recently, to be able to secure this W, man. So let's talk about these stats. Let's dive right into the stats. There were a lot of good things and a lot of bad things here, but you guys can call it for how you see it, man. So Tua, obviously, with 215 yards, 22 for 34, 1 touchdown pass. He didn't get sacked. So the offensive line, who's been doing a solid job in pass protection, continues to do their job. Like I mentioned, Devon Achane, 17 carries, 121 yards. one being that 50-yard dagger touchdown run, which was awesome. He finished up with a touchdown. Raheem Mostert, I mean, finally, you got to see, him get going. And you knew there was going to be a little bit of juice there having to play his former team in the 49ers. So 8 carries for 31 yards. I like the fact that he got some burn and actually was productive somewhat. One of them was a big run. Jeff Wilson, also surprised that he got the ball. 2 carries for 12 yards, six yards on each carry. Devon Achane also catching out of the backfield, 6 catches for 70 yards. Jonnu Smith, who's been absolutely amazing all year long, continues his beast mode. So 6 catches for 62 yards. Tyreek Hill, though, 7 targets, only catches 3 for 29 yards only and a touchdown. A couple drops in there too, man. And Tyreek Hill this year has been a huge disappointment, an absolute huge disappointment, man. And I know the Tyreek Hill is a beast, man. I mean, he is an awesome player. You could talk to me about, the excuse about the wrist injury, probably, from week 1. But nonetheless, I mean, you're out there on the field, like you have to perform. And it's just been a huge disappointment this whole entire year from Tyreek Hill, man. I mean, it really is. And a lot of them are drops too. That's the thing, man. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Malik Washington, 3 catches for 28 yards on 4 targets. But on the other side of things, man, I mentioned on my preview show, I said, listen, there's going to be a couple ways to win this game. You got to start running the ball, which the Dolphins did so today. So, they got away from it a little bit, but towards the end, they put the game away running the football, which is absolutely a great recipe. So shout out to Mike McDaniel for at least sticking to the run, kind of not letting a potential interception from Tua late in the game to get this game out of whack. You secured the win, handing that ball off to Achane. He delivered in that, final drive. So huge shout out to him. But I mentioned, that running game has to get going, number 1. Number 2, have to contain George Kittle because he's been on an absolute tear. All right, so watch out for him. And, man, he torched us, bro. 8 receptions for 106 yards. It didn't matter who was on him. Even Jalen Ramsey, Jalen Ramsey's been getting cooked all year. I don't know if anybody else is picking up on that, which I definitely don't like to see. And Deebo Samuel, man, 7 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown, including 5 carries for 25 yards. I mean, this dude was everywhere. Brock Purdy, 313 yards, 2 touchdowns. That interception at the end, obviously, put this game away for them. But Brock Purdy, he played a solid game. But this Dolphins defense, man, definitely gets credit. I obviously don't like giving up all those yards to George Kittle and Deebo Samuel and Brock Purdy at that, getting 300 yards at home. But just the timely plays, man, the constant pressure from Chop Robinson, from Calais Campbell, who finished up with a quarterback hit that ultimately led to that interception from Kohu. Jordan Brooks continues to be solid all season long. I absolutely just like the way the Dolphins defense got those timely plays when it mattered most to put this game away. As I mentioned, I got 3 game balls. Jason Sanders, I mean, delivering with a bunch of kicks here again. Devon Achane putting the game away and also just doing both things, receiving and rushing the football. And then, a mixture between Calais Campbell and Chop Robinson, man. I thought they made a huge impact on the game tonight that ultimately led you to a victory. The Dolphins win this game 29-17. The Buffalo Bills, all right, that game is final. They did beat the New England Patriots. So that, like I mentioned earlier, that Chiefs game, all right, Chiefs Broncos, the final week of the season is probably going to mean something because KC wants to lock up home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So the Dolphins now, with 2 weeks remaining, it's simple. You win 2, Denver loses 2, and then the Colts have to lose 1 of 2. All right. Don't worry about the Colts, man. I mean, my thing is just watch Denver and watch Miami and let the chips fall where they may after that. The Colts would have to win 3 games in a row entirely, to get in. And they haven't done that all year. All right. I know they got the Giants on the schedule and they got the Raiders, but they're also the Colts. Okay. So they're not world beaters out here. They can get got, and they have Anthony Richardson, who makes a lot of mistakes. So to me, I'm watching Denver and I'm watching Miami. Miami's got this game next week against the Cleveland Browns, which was a Sunday night football game, but got flexed out. Now you're going into Cleveland. All right. That's a cold environment. Tua has to be ready to perform. I'm not expecting much out of him, but hopefully this Dolphins team comes up with a great, game plan as a whole that I don't even think, quite frankly, you need a good game from Tua. I think if you get Devon Achane doing what he's been able to do recently and this defense shows up to play, and if you're playing DTR at quarterback for Cleveland, he is really bad, in my opinion. I know a lot of people like him, but quite frankly, he's not that guy. So I think this Dolphins defense alone going into Cleveland can win you this game. And then you got the Jets at MetLife Stadium to round things off. It's going to be interesting, man. But at the end of the day, if the Dolphins make it or don't make it, it's unfortunate that they're in this situation to begin with, but there's nobody to blame but themselves. You could blame, you got to blame themselves. You blame Mike McDaniel for wanting to stay with no backup quarterback and thinking Skylar Thompson was the guy, wasting all of those games and all of those times. You got to look at Chris Greer for not bringing in a backup quarterback, for not doing anything about this, for watching us just throw these games away, these easy games, the games against the Colts, the games against the Seahawks, all of those early easy wins that we had on the table for us. And we're just standing back. The Tennessee Titans as well. It's just crazy. If you had a competent backup quarterback, you would not even be in this situation. So I look at that stretch and it might come down to that. And at that point, that's what they deserve, because if there's people to blame here, it is Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel. Those two get the blame. As Tua has been okay. He's been all right. I'm not the biggest fan from a lot of the things that I haven't seen from him that I think he needs to prove, but I'm not gonna blame him. He's not the reason why we don't make the playoffs this year if we don't. All right, it's Chris Greer, number one, and Mike McDaniel, number two. I mean, it goes back to it. It goes back to it. So at this point, I'm rooting for the boys to win at the end of the day. I'm rooting for the boys to get into the playoffs. All right. If we get eliminated, then I want a higher draft pick. Until then, I want to continue to see this team, compete. But at the end of the day, man, things have to be done with this front office. And it starts with Chris Greer, but that's a conversation for a different day. But the Dolphins win this game. They stay alive another week. 29-17 at the final score. You got Cleveland next week, and Denver's got the Bengals. All right. So you're rooting for the Bengals and you're rooting for your Miami Dolphins. And that way it goes down to the final week and we'll take it from there. I will have a video this week coming up with a preview on how we can beat the Browns, my keys to victory, and much more. But please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up button to support the channel as well. And I will catch you guys next week. The Dolphins stay alive in the hunt. Another week, headed into week 17 next. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. See you guys next time.